Top Gear, my favourite TV show of all time, and it's a big part of the reason why I got into cars and motorsport. It was just three blokes messing about, and occasionally a car show would break out.
This isn't its best side though, because you've got the hinges on. It looks better than the other side.
But there's one segment that I want to talk about today, one of the most popular segments of Top Gear over the 22 seasons that it aired, with Jeremy Clarkson, Richard Hammond and James May as its presenters, and that is the F1 driver leaderboard. Every driver who has won a Formula 1 World Championship always has one argument held against them. They only won because they had the best car. Well, that's what makes this segment special. Every driver had to drive the exact same 2002 Suzuki Liana GLX 1.6, an absolute beauty of a motor. And the format was identical to the normal Star in a reasonably priced car. And it wasn't just any random F1 drivers that had a go at this. Damon Hill, Nigel Mansell, Jenson Button, Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton, just to name a few for you. And Michael Schumacher got lost, allegedly, on his lap. And they took it seriously as well, always wanting to be the fastest. Not their F1 drivers, so that's clearly obvious, isn't it? However, even though they had the exact same car, there are factors which can still help reduce lap time, such as track conditions. The first ever F1 driver to go on the lap board was Damon Hill, the 1996 world champion, and he set a time of a 1 minute 46.3, the fastest ever lap around the Top Gear test track in the Suzuki Liana at the time. 1 minute 46.3 is actually the time it takes me to understand some of Damon's tweets. Second to try it was Mark Webber, back when he was at BMW Williams, and he set a time of a 1 minute 47.1, but the track was soaking wet, so this either meant that Damon was very slow for an F1 driver, or Mark was very fast in the wet. Well, the next driver gave us somewhat an answer to that. Nigel Mansell, another world champion, went on the show, and the car was actually lighter than maybe it should have been, as it wasn't carrying the weight of his legendary moustache. No wonder then that he smashed Damon's time by 1.7 seconds to go to the top of the board. After Nigel had a go, someone else went on the F1 board who wasn't an F1 driver. Some say that they didn't let him race in F1 as it would be too unfair on everyone else. The stick, perhaps unsurprisingly, went right to the top and couldn't care a single bit at the time, but he would in later series. Jenson Button set a time of a 1 minute 44.7, but the lap was classified as hot, which would slow the car down, and for 2 seasons of Top Gear we didn't get to see another F1 driver have a go around the track, but the driver that did have a go next turned out to be quite good. On a track labelled as wet and oily, Lewis Hamilton set the exact same time as Jenson Button set in the dry, and was only 3/10 off the stick at the top. We will be coming back to Lewis later on, as this wasn't his last go. There was another lengthy break in between F1 drivers appearing on the show until Jenson Button returned after winning the 2009 world title in that incredible brawn, but this time the track was wet, so he went 2/10 slower with a 1 minute 44.9. This was the first time that an F1 driver had returned to have another go in the now quite old Suzuki Liana. Remember how I said that the stick didn't care about his lap time? Well, that was until Rubens Barrichello beat it by 1/10 of a second to go right to the top of the board. And at the next F1 race in Germany at the Hockenheim, Rubens wore a t-shirt saying, "I beat the stick," and bought every other driver that went around the track a shirt saying, "I didn't beat the stick." Absolute quality stuff there from Rubens. But the very next driver beat Rubens and went fastest of anyone.
Do you have a girlfriend? Is she wearing a helmet as well?
Sebastian Vettel set a 144 flat, 3/10 faster than Barrichello, and the biggest lead the driver ever had on the board since Mansell's 1 minute 44.6. Then Kimi Räikkönen had his turn next, and whilst the interview was classic Kimi stuff, a wet track meant that he didn't have any chance of beating Seb, setting a time of 1 minute 46.1. Now we come back to Lewis Hamilton, who returned to Top Gear following his switch from McLaren to Mercedes, where Jeremy Clarkson said one of the most poorly aging statements in history.
You have moved from McLaren to Mercedes. Is that not a bit like moving from Manchester United to West Ham?
Hamilton wasn't happy with his first time and arranged with the producers of the show to come back and have another go when it was dry, so he had a chance of beating Vettel and going fastest. Well, he set a 1 minute 42.9. No doubt this was helped by having lapped the track before in the same car, but this looked unbeatable. Surely no one was ever going to beat this time. Mark Webber couldn't when he came back for his second attempt, setting a 1 minute 43.1, only 2/10 off, but there was one final driver to go on the show before its abrupt end with Clarkson, Hammond and May as its presenters. Jeremy had said that he thought Daniel Ricciardo was the best driver in Formula 1 and wanted to get him onto the show to see what time he could do, and when he did, everyone was near speechless. He didn't just beat Lewis's time, he annihilated it. of a 1 minute 42.2, 7/10 faster than what was thought to have been an unbeatable time. And it wasn't a fluke, as it was revealed that he did 3 laps, all of which were the exact same time, and that was the last ever lap on the Top Gear F1 leaderboard. Quite a fitting end, but I loved this segment of the show. It's the closest we ever got to seeing F1 drivers all in the same car, and the only thing that would make it more plausible would be if they all set their times on the same day, in the same conditions. It's possible that we may never see something like this ever again, but thank God we did. Thank you for watching this video. If you do enjoy my content, I really appreciate if you gave this video a like and subscribe to the channel. The channel's been growing very nicely lately, and it's been very nice to see. Thank you for all your support. You can also follow me on various social media in the description down below, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Until next time, goodbye.